Hello
Hello. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
and welcome back.
Welcome back. How wonderful it is to be back again. How are you? How
I
is
know.
everybody?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Me too. I'm very, very excited. I'm so grateful to everybody that joined us last season, especially the guests, but
I
also
know.
everybody that joined us for the conversations. We were blown away by how it all went. And so we decided to come back, and that's thanks
And here
to
we
you
are.
guys. Here we are. So, yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome. How have you been, Sam?
I've been good. I've been itching to get back, but I've been good. It's been a nice chill Christmas season. So
Yeah.
yeah. How have you been?
Good, yeah, good. I've actually had a lovely start to the year. So that's the best bit. It's just, January can be so bleak and so, yeah, weird and liminal. And actually, because of this kind of chat and all the other lovely projects that we've got, yeah, it's just been a really lovely
Yeah.
feeling to get back into the driving seat again.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
No?
And to kick off with an absolute bang, we've got Bill Wood, author of Let's Split Up, Be Right Back, and One Less Scare, coming in October. And
Amazing.
I'm so excited. He is one of the first booktokers I followed back in the day. He is hilariously funny without even trying to be funny. He is just incredible, and I'm so excited to talk to him.
Me too. I'm so glad you introduced me to him. I've really been enjoying reading Let's Split Up. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I'm also obsessed with the fact that he has well, he's kind of openly spoken about the fact that one of his inspirations for Let's Split Up is the amazing Scooby-Doo
Yeah,
cartoon, which is like just, it's so epic and it's also so classic and it's something that everybody loves.
just
But
timeless, isn't it?
it's timeless, absolutely. But I guess what I love is that I never thought that a writer would choose a cartoon as one of their inspirations for their books, and it worked
Especially one so prolific and do it so well.
so well, so well. It's been brilliant and
Mhm.
obviously very successful. So
So
it was,
successful.
yeah.
One of the fastest bestsellers of UKYA, I believe. Like, that is
Isn't
incredible. Yeah,
amazing, absolutely amazing, and well deserved as well. Bless him.
absolutely. And I think he's here. Let me.
Wonderful.
Hello!
Ah,
Hello.
hello,
The
Bill. Lovely to
infamous Bill
meet
Wood.
you.
How are you
Welcome.
guys?
We're
How,
well.
yeah, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Absolutely. We're so excited to talk with you, Bill, and it's lovely to meet you.
You too. You too.
So, getting straight into it, you've been on Book Talk for quite a while. Did you always want to branch out and write your own books?
I mean, I've always written books. I think when I joined BookTok in particular, it wasn't with like I guess the thought of using it to promote my own work. It just kind of happened because I guess BookTok and AuthorTalk kind of what's the word? Just they're connected in
Intermingle.
a sense. So it just kind of slowly happened. And yeah, I started writing Let's Split Up like the month I started Book Talk as well, which is like a weird coincidence.
Wow.
But that it was always one of those books that I found like really tricky to finish because I mean, you guys were talking about like it's inspired by a cartoon, so it's like not like the easiest thing, especially when it is so prolific. Um, but yeah, it happened later on. I think once I got a bit more comfortable being front facing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd love to talk a bit more specifically about your content as well on BookTok, because that's something I'm learning about, and I'm certainly not the expert. You two are amazing, absolutely amazing, and such an inspiration. But was it a matter of trial and error at the beginning? Did you have a clear kind of plan about the kind of content you wanted to put out there? How did it evolve? How did it start?
I mean, not at all. I mean, I just joined randomly in like June 2021 because Like a lot of people during COVID, I got really into my reading again. And I just like I've got family members who read, but they weren't reading the same books, and I had no one to talk about the books I was reading with. So um, I just decided to post a video. I think my first video was ever was like just like the books I owned because I had quite a few at the time, and then it just kind of spiraled from there, and it was great honestly because it got me into reading more because I had people to talk about it.
Hmm.
But it was honestly just like random stuff. Like I was just doing like the trends like that were circling at the time, and that just I guess helped me grow because I was kind of just doing what everyone else was doing.
Yeah. I think some of my favourite ones that you've done are the unboxings with Ted. And
Yeah.
I loved them so much. I'd be scrolling and I'd be like, no, I've got to stop.
I mean, those ones were just like, well, when was it? It was probably 2022 is like when I first found out about all like the fairy loots and the Illuma crates.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, well, I've got to unbox this. And then as my brother got old enough, he was like, oh, I want to do it too. So it just came a thing. And then they kind of popped off and started doing them again recently. And it's just fun. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they're so fun to watch. It's just so pure. And it's just so heartwarming.
It's gorgeous. It's really
Yeah.
gorgeous.
And
And
getting the
so,
younger generation into reading, like that's incredible as well because he's a big reader, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's in secondary school now, so it's definitely slowed down a little bit, but I mean, I will always say like I've done a lot to try and get him to keep reading. But I'm in when he was in year 5 and 6, he had the same teacher and huge reader. He's literally a book blogger himself, so he was
Mm.
like really into getting the kids into reading, and his library was like all the brand new middle grade releases. So the amount of kids sometimes you drop him off at school and they'd all be reading books in the playground. It was crazy. But I try my best.
Oh, I love
awesome.
that. I love them.
Awesome. It's very wholesome content. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, you're in a really interesting position because you've self-published and you've also had traditional publishing as well.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a bit about the difference between the two and the journey between the two?
Yeah. I mean, I think I self-published really at the start. One, just because I'm very impatient. And obviously it's very well known that traditional publishing is a very, very slow process. And obviously with self-publishing, you get to speed that up quite a bit. Sometimes that's for a good, like good with good you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it mine kind of happened by accident because so Let's Play I started writing as I said in like June 2021, and I think I finished the first draft November 21 maybe. But it just I couldn't get it right. So I started writing something else, which was my fantasy book, which I ended up self-publishing, and I posted about for the first time ever in like that November time, and the first video I ever posted about it like got 1 million views within like a week. So then I kind of was like, oh, I guess I'm self-publishing in this now because like that demand was there. So I kind of rushed into it. Maybe like with hindsight, I would have done something a little bit differently. But I mean, it's I recouped the costs, so that I'm happy about that. They're not available now for multiple reasons, but um, traditional publishing came a little bit later. It took me a couple years to get Let's Split Up right, and then it was like 2023. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I think this is like really marketable. I think it's commercial. I think a publisher would jump at this. Obviously, agents come first. So it was like a really weird process because very, very atypical, I think my experience was because as I was querying agents, I had publisher interest at the same time. So it was like a really weird, out of order sort of situation. But I mean, it all worked out in the end.
It's a good
It
problem to
did.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think being on BookTok has shaped the way you approach storytelling in any way?
I've I've thought about this before, and I think it's not so much that I think about it. It's just kind of like subconscious. I
Mm.
know in the back of my head what will sell, what's commercial, what I think would do really well with tropes and trends online. So while I'm not like actively thinking about it while I'm drafting or plotting a story, I think it just trickles in there without me realizing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a weird one, but I guess so. Yeah.
a reader knows what a reader wants, so
for sure.
it does kind of play into it, I can imagine.
Which is why, like, the big conversation when people are like, you need to read what you want to write is super important. That's why, like if there's like an adult reading who wants to write a middle grade book, you need to be reading what's trending in middle grade, because maybe the last middle grade thing you read was, I don't know, something when you were a kid. Things change a lot since like 20 years ago, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Mm, that's
yeah, for
great
sure.
advice. Great advice and great insight, and also I think quite savvy to have just an awareness of the market and what is popular and what's trending. I don't think always writers have that mentality. I know that I certainly don't, and I rely a lot on my agents and publishers to kind of decide where the book's
Yeah.
going to go and where it sits. But it's incredibly savvy if you can also think in that way.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why it's important being online as well as an author. Obviously, it's not mandatory. It does help because you can promote yourself, but it also is helpful in the sense that, like, now I know that like dark academia had a really big moment the past couple of years, so I know that publishers aren't really going to be taking much on now because it's kind of hit that saturation point, and it's going to be like another 10 years until it's popular again, just like that happened with vampires. Just like, I mean, romanticy's probably hit its peak now, and people are still going to like be buying it, but they're going to want something different, if that makes sense. That's why you're seeing a lot of like that horror romanticy space now,
Mm.
because it's kind of the same vein, but just a little bit twisted.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
How, I know it seems impossible, but how do you protect yourself from creativity burnout? Because I know it's like constant editing, it's constant promotion. So how do you
Hmm.
protect yourself from that?
I just step away. I found it really hard to do at the start. When I first started, I mean, I was it a good 3 years I was posting every single day on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it got to last July, and I was like, I can't do this anymore because it got to the point where I was like actually like stressing about like what am I gonna post, and I was like, this is not no help. And then the videos I was posting were just so rubbish, and it's just posting for no reason. And sure, I think maybe my engagements took a hit since I did that, but I think my mental health has done the opposite.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth it. But it's the same with when it comes to writing as well. Like, I've just handed in edits for One Last Scare on Monday, so I'm taking a step back for a week or so. Well, I keep saying I am. I keep like thinking about what I can do next, but I'm like purposely pushing myself away from the desk just to give myself a breather. Because even though I'm like really excited about the prospect of something shiny and new, I feel like every writer like will want to write something even though they're writing something else. I'm trying to stop myself from doing it straight away, because that's when you're just creatively burnt out, and that's when it kind of affects the writing as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, such an important balance to get.
For
I
sure.
wonder if we can talk a bit about Let's Split Up because it was
Yeah.
such a game changer for you, obviously. And it would just be, I've really been enjoying reading it, and I
Thank
really,
you.
no, thank you. And thank you, Sam, for introducing it and you to me.
More than
Do you want
welcome.
do you want to let us know? Yeah, just tell us a little bit about how it was originally inspired, where the idea came from, what the journey was. You've mentioned, that it was tricky in the end to get it right,
Mhm.
but I guess maybe we could go back a few steps and just talk about where it all started.
Yeah, I mean, Scooby-Doo was like my one thing as a kid, and it's something that I've always just kind of gone back to. And having a little brother who's 12, I think I was 12 when he was born as well, so I got to like relive all of my childhood things again through him. I got reintroduced to everything again, and it's kind of been a blessing because I like got back into things that I probably wouldn't have touched. And Scooby Doo being one of them. So I remember I was showing him the live action movies from the early 2000s, which were my favorite as a kid.
Hmm.
And I remember finishing the first movie, and I'm also like huge into horror movies. And I was like, I wish there's this vibe, this like mystery solving friendship group, but maybe just a little bit older. And so that day I started like working on that, and the reason it took me so long to get it right is because the tone I think was really tricky. I wanted it to have the really lightheartedness of Scooby Doo, but then still have kind of like the I guess the slasher elements, and that was like really tricky. And then I ended up really diving into like the 90s 2000s horror vibe with like character stereotypes and all that sort of stuff. So it was like a tricky balance, but I mean I couldn't be happier with how it turned out, honestly. I'm very blessed.
And how did you come up with the title? Because I am obsessed. Like obviously it's like a trope within it.
Yeah.
But was there anything before that that you thought, oh, that could be the title, or the publishers like said maybe this?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I when I opened because I use Scrivener to write my books, I opened up my Scrivener document and I just wrote "Let's Split Up." It just immediately was like,
Really?
yeah. And then I was like, wait, this is a good title, so I just kept it and it never changed. The conversation about what else it could be called never came up once we sold it. I think it's just a really good title, if I don't
That's so
say so
organic. I
myself.
love it.
It's
It's
great.
never been that easy again, but that one time it was.
Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was really surprised when I started watching your content, having already started the book, and I was like, oh, he's British.
Yeah.
Because you've just got that kind of Californian American kind of like atmosphere and vibe, and you just got it to a T, and that's really hard to do. Even the phrasing and the way the
Yeah.
characters speak, even the school and the culture around schools and things like that. And
Yeah.
certainly these small towns in the States are very different to any places in the UK.
hmm
Can you tell us a little bit about that, like Sonera as a setting, but also the characters and the tropes that come, with that, which are very American,
hmm
and everything else in terms of just writing something which was quite far removed from your own experience growing up.
Yeah. I mean, I've been asked a couple times like why I set it in America and compared to like where I live, and it's just like it wasn't even a question in my mind when I started writing it. I think it's purely because I think obviously it's inspired a lot by Scream, and I know what he did last summer, and obviously they're all in small US towns. Like thinking back, like I imagine if I set it in the UK, immediately like just the vibe would be different because like a small British town is completely different to a small American town. Now, I've only been to New York in America, so like my idea of America is very different to obviously what Sonera is. Um, but I think a lot of like, I guess I did a lot of research about this school system. That was like a big thing because obviously it's very prevalent in the first book. But honestly, a lot of it just came to me because I grew up on the Disney Channel. So like everything, so if anything's wrong, it's because I got it from Disney Channel. I did ask like some American friends, like if you were doing this, especially in the sequel when they go to college, the stuff about like majors and minors, that was confusing me a little bit. So I had to ask about that. But I will say, when we did US edits for the book, because it came out in the US about, it was like a year after the UK edition, because we sold it after it came out in the UK. Um, that was interesting because that's when they picked up like certain phrases that maybe I didn't realize are only really said in the UK, or maybe they're like, oh, I don't know if a US teen would know what you meant here. But they didn't pick up a lot, so I was pretty proud of myself there.
You
Amazing.
mentioned it coming out in America. Did that feel surreal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also nerve-wracking because I was like, oh, now if I've got anything wrong about America, I'm gonna find out now.
Yeah.
I've not. No one's ever said anything, but also I don't check my reviews, so who knows?
Top tip.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That's amazing. I remember seeing that news come out and I was just like, incredible.
Yeah, I was very chuffed about that. It was a weird one because I mean, a debut is always going to be I don't even know the word for it. Like I sold it in the UK and I didn't sell any translations or anything until the first week sales in the UK were pretty good. And then I remember like 2 days, oh, it was when the I hit the bestseller list in the UK. I just had an email saying, okay, US interest. And I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
wonder why.
Wow.
But it was quite funny, yeah.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
And so let's talk about character as well, because you've got these gorgeous characters, these four friends, which are just brilliant. And you know, each chapter is from the perspective of one of those friends, and we jump from one to the other, which is just so lovely. Can you tell us a little bit how you develop their individual personalities? Because each one brings something completely different. And like you said, it sounds like you were aware of the tropes,
Yeah.
um, and the stereotypes or the archetypes or what have you. But it feels like you then, you know, went beyond that, you know, so you took the best of those, but also, you know, made them into actual, you know, three-dimensional humans.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, when I knew I wanted to kind of mash the Scooby-Doo and Scream of it all together, I was like, okay, I don't want to just take like the Scooby-Doo archetype characters. I want to kind of blend them with like the 90s, 2000s horror, which are both kind of outdated like nowadays. That's why in like new iterations they're very different to, I think you look at like Daphne in the show today compared to how she was in the 60s, completely different.
Mm.
So I was like, how can I change things up? So, like, I guess Cam would be the jock character in the book, but he's so much more than that. He's got a heart. He's got his relationship with Jonesy is very different, and I was just trying to make these characters, I guess, linked to a stereotype, but just so much more
Yeah.
as well. And that came a lot with just trial and error. It just came it just felt natural for it to be multi POV for me. I just really enjoy writing like that. I like getting into people's heads like that. um I will say it was a bit of trial and error in the sense that I didn't know their voice, and like on the first draft it was something that in the second one, in the second draft and the third and the fourth, where I went back and I was like, okay, maybe Jonesy will be a little bit shyer, so that will reflect in his dialogue or how he's
Mm.
handling himself or reacting in a situation. And there was definitely multiple scenes where I was like, oh, I don't know whose POV this would be best from. So I rewrote that scene from lots of different characters' point of view to see which would work. Especially like ones where there's like a big range of emotion or like terror. It's maybe a little bit more fun to put that in the perspective of Jonesy because he's a little bit of a scaredy cat, and that's just fun to write. Um, but yeah, it's fun. I just like getting in their heads.
I love Jonesy.
Yeah, Josie's awesome.
So it quickly became a fastest selling UK YA debut. How did it
Mm.
feel to see that react? Like, what was your reaction to see that?
I mean, I it's weird because like I've always had a good feeling about the book. I just knew it's hard to explain, but like I've always loved the book, and like as soon as I wrote it, I was like, there's something special here. But I mean, you could never expect like the success that came from it. I mean, I ended up getting that edition, the special edition with the works, which definitely helped because it kind of became like a manhunt to try and find it in the first week, which was absolutely
I
wild.
was on that manhunt.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that helped because it kind of like then when it sold out in the works, people were like, well, everyone else has got this. I need to go get it. So like then the normal edition was selling out, and it was really strange. Um, and I mean, you can't comprehend it. It's like something you can't expect either. But I'm forever grateful for it because it's helped my career a lot.
Yeah. Well, can you then tell us a bit about what has changed since then? Like, where are you now, and what was the journey after that and the trajectory?
I mean, after that first week, we sold obviously the US rights, as I said. We sold. I, I've lost track of how many translations. I want to say it's 8 right now. Not all of them are
Wow.
out.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
but then I'm trying to remember now. It's been such a whirlwind. Um, it was just a lot. It's just suddenly getting invited to events. Suddenly, like authors are like DMing me, which is really strange. Um, and then I'd be like, I had to sign like so my original deal was 2 books. It was for Let's Split Up, and then originally it was just an untitled thriller. It wasn't supposed to be linked. I always like wanted to do a sequel. I think just the format of what Let's Split Up is lends itself really well to um a series. and they didn't want it at the time, which makes sense because like there's not many thriller series if you really think about it, especially in like YA. You can probably think of like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, One of
Yeah.
Us is Lying. I can't really think of many others. And then they wanted the sequel, so I was like, okay, cool, I'll do this. And then it got to the point of they wanted to buy more books, which was I was very happy about that as well. And then I kind of had like a negotiation power because I got those sales um, behind me, so I got to kind of say what I wanted to do then, which was really nice.
Mm.
I guess it just gives you a lot more authority, and as an author, that's something you don't get a lot of the time. And I mean, I have such a good working relationship with my publisher, and with Scholastic UK and US, but the UK team is so like close knit, and I kind of know everyone, and it's just a really nice working relationship, and I couldn't be happier, honestly.
Wonderful.
They
Well
do seem
deserved.
like an amazing team, I will say.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, I've interacted with Scholastic so much throughout the years. Like my friend Rosie Talbot, who wrote 16
Yeah.
Souls, also booktoker. When 16 Souls originally came out, I was invited to go down to York, and we stayed over, and they paid for all of it. It was wild. So I've known the team through then. I've done like sponsorships with them. And when I wrote Let's Flip originally, I was like, this would be so perfect for Scholastic, and then it happened. So it's a really like full circle moment.
Yeah,
Written in the stars.
For sure. Yeah.
absolutely. And what maybe we could like expand a bit on that. Like, I think there's so much mystery around the agent relationship, the publisher relationship, the team around that.
Yeah.
Like, what does make a good team for you? Like, what when you say they're such a good team, like, can you break down what that means a little bit?
Um, for me, I feel like communication's just really important. And with my UK team, it's gonna depend on the time of year, of course, but like I know that if I have a question, it's gonna be responded to within the day, maybe 2 days, and normally it's within the day. And I think when you are like self-employed as well, like they're like your colleagues. So like when you need to speak to someone, it's nice knowing that they're gonna be there. Um, I've had a lot of different experiences, like with my US team. I really like them, but I just don't have that same relationship. One, because it's just such a big company, and you're just like a tiny fish in this big company. I feel like here, obviously, it's a lot smaller, and I've got my sales here, so I'm like, I guess I'm kind of prioritized to some extent. Um, I feel like communication is definitely the big thing, but also like I think vision as well. They know what we kind of on the same page of what these books should be and what I want them to be. And that helps a lot when you're marketing them. And I mean, I have the best publicist ever. She was nominated last year at the British Book Awards for best campaign for this book. So we're
Wow.
just on the same page. Like she loves all these. Like, I remember when I first met her for the first time, her phone case was literally Scooby Doo and Scream. I was like, this is like made a match made in heaven. So yeah, it's really hard to like it's one of the because a lot of the time you can't choose your team. Like it's very rare that it's like what's the word? It's very rare that an author will get say 10 offers for a book. Sometimes you get one offer and that's the one you have to take. And I've just been very lucky, yeah.
And well deserved. Your luck has been well deserved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask, at that time, did she know that that's what the book was? Because that is an incredible coincidence.
She didn't. I mean, Tina, my publicist, she joined Scholastic after I sold my book.
Oh my
She
God.
was at I think HarperCollins before then. So yeah, it's just pure coincidence.
That is insane.
I know.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Can I also ask, what made you lean towards going YA instead of NA or, yeah, like for young adults?
I think at the time, for one, like NA just wasn't really a thing in 2021. Like it
I
was, but
might I
not
might
as
just
much.
interrupt and say, just for anybody who's watching who doesn't understand those terms, should we maybe explain the
Oh yeah,
difference between YA and NA?
yeah. So YA is young adult, and then NA is kind of, I guess, a newer classified term. Is new adult. So it's stuff that is 18 characters who are
Yeah.
18 plus, but it's if you think of like Fourth Wing, I guess is sometimes classed as new adult. It's kind of maybe a little bit simpler in prose before you get to like proper adult fantasy, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, but yeah, so at the time when I wrote Let's Split Up, it wasn't really like new adult was a thing, but it wasn't widely accepted's not the word, but it wasn't like widely as known. And also like this is set in a high school, it just kind of made sense. And then as I was thinking of like other YA thriller horror series, I was looking to the One of Us is Lying, I was looking to Good Girls Guide to Murder, and Let's Book just kind of fit into that bracket, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 100%. I
Yeah.
can't imagine it being anything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about maybe your writing process. So
Yeah.
first of all, it would be lovely to know what the process was for that first book. And obviously, what happens is, for me anyway, when there's no pressure because nobody knows who you are and they're not expecting anything, you can go on a journey that's a lot more kind of selfish and exploratory. And all of a sudden, when there's deals and things like that and deadlines, it changes things. So
Yeah.
do you want to talk a bit about that process and how it is and how it's evolved and changed, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure your process has changed a lot since selling stuff. But I used to be just very strict pantser. I couldn't plot. I think for me, when I was first starting to write or first finishing my first ever books, the fun in it was just making it up on the spot.
Yeah.
Um, so the first draft of Let's Book was literally just word vomit. I had like obviously like a kind of idea of what I was wanted to write, but I didn't know who the killer was. I didn't know any of that. It was something that like halfway through I was like, okay, I think this is going to be the killer, and things changed as I wrote it. But obviously when you sell a book and then you're contracted and they want a book out every year, you have to be a little bit one faster, but also two like they've got to approve things, especially when it comes to sequels. You need to know that you're on the same page as your editor and your team. So when it came to writing the sequel, it was a little bit tricky because so Let's Blurb came out in the end of September in 2024. And I'd already started writing an unrelated thriller, which was set to release in 2025. And I'd workshopped the plot with my editor, and then Let's Book came out and it did well. And they were like, "Ooh, shall we have a sequel instead?" So I'd already written like 70% of a different book, which was a little frustrating at the time, but I knew it would make more sense for me to write a sequel. So I kind of rushed, I didn't rush through a sequel because I already had ideas of what I wanted to do. Um, so I wrote Be Right Back, the sequel, in about a month, which is
Wow.
very, very
Whoa.
wild. I will say we did a lot of it's uh, we did this thing which I've not done again, and I'm still not unsure how I feel about it. But I basically wrote a synopsis of what I think the book would be. Had like my editor look at it and she goes, "Yeah, I like this idea." So then I went back and like did a very in-depth synopsis with like it wasn't exactly chapter by chapter, but it was like this is beat, then this beat, then this beat, then this beat with the killer and everything. Um, and we kind of did a developmental edit on this plot breakdown, which saved time then when we were doing edits on the actual book. It meant the structural edit wasn't crazy big. So it actually ended up saving time. Um, it's again unsure if I like that. We didn't do that for the third book, but it just meant that my most recent structural edit was very scary, and it drained me. But yeah, now it's just that's one thing when you just have to get used to. I've become a very big plotter now, and I enjoy it. And I don't. I also like don't. I think I find it fun if something comes to me while I'm writing that strays from what I've plotted. I let myself go there because I think sometimes that's the when you get the good ideas as well, like the fun twists. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you kind of got this beautiful balance between, and again, just in case anybody watching doesn't know these terminologies, but
Oh, of
there's a
course. Yeah.
theory that, there's two types of writers, a planner and a pantser. those who, really plan everything before they write so they know exactly what's going to happen, and those of us who fly by the seat of our pants, basically, and make it up as we go along. And it sounds like you, Bill, had that beautiful experience. And I think that's really interesting because for me to hear you say, with a book that was a mystery at the end of the day, that
Yeah,
even you didn't know originally until halfway through exactly how it was going to end. That's really, really interesting because it did end up being so well structured. And I imagine you probably went back in later edits and kind of planted little
yeah.
clues and seeds along the way, kind of in retrospect once you knew how it was going to end up. But yeah, the planning is very interesting, especially if that's something you've had to kind of evolve into, that you
Yeah.
hadn't done before, and the pros and cons of both, but also how lovely that you give yourself space still to include some twists or some deviations or some changes along the way.
Yeah, and then it's the fun email like, okay, so here's the new draft. I have changed it quite a bit. To be fair, my team, I think they trust me a lot, so they're normally okay with it. But yeah, I think the plotting and the pantsing sort of thing, I kind of shoot myself in the foot because the two genres I'm writing right now, mystery and fantasy, they both need a lot of plotting if between like obviously mystery and like planting clues and then world building so, and yeah it's taken me like a lot to get used to plotting, but I do enjoy it now, especially when it comes to when I'm writing fantasy stuff. um I just love opening that document. I've just got pages about the world. I think it's so fun. And then being able to just go back and look, I was like, wow, I've got a whole world here. It's like really like validating.
Amazing.
Can we expect a fantasy from you anytime soon?
No comments.
I love how
Um,
you just dropped that in there. You did say the F word, Bill. It's
yeah,
official.
you did say it.
um, I mean, I'd love it. We'll see. I can't say anything.
No, I loved the first one, even though obviously you went on to unpublish it. I still loved that first one. So
Thank
anything
you.
that comes our way, I'll be eagerly reading.
Absolutely.
I will say I think fantasy was like my first love when it comes to literature. I like the first thing I really fell in love with was Narnia as a kid, and it just really got me into fantasy as a teenager. So that is definitely one thing that I will be coming back to.
I love that.
Gorgeous. Lovely.
What do you find more difficult, like planning? Is it the fantasy or is it the thriller? Because I know thriller mystery, you have the plot twist, you have the twists and the turns and the shocks. Is that more difficult to plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I yeah. I will say I wrote a fantasy. I'm trying to remember. I wrote two mysteries last year and and a fantasy last year, and I had the most trouble with writing One Last Scare, which I wrote. I finished in November, I think it was. I struggled a lot with that book, and especially with edits. I think edits with mystery is probably the hardest thing I do, just because especially when I mean now I'm working with my UK and US team simultaneously. There's so many voices, so many cooks in the kitchen, and they've all got different thoughts about what they think should happen. Obviously at the end of the day I've kind of got final say, and I do push back on certain things that I feel really strongly about. But I find it really difficult to kind of integrate their thoughts while still keeping my vision.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I definitely will say mystery. And also because there's that stress and that kind of expectation of like when people pick up a mystery, they're gonna be surprised, and it's really nerve-wracking. So like the dedication, my new one literally addresses that because it's scary. And um yeah, I I, I feel like some people have different perspectives though, because some people just find fantasy really intimidating as well. I don't know. Who knows?
It's a lot of
I,
pressure.
I mean, I commend both because
Yeah.
the thought of doing any of that would, honestly, I would give up on day one. And I know that's really bad to admit, but I probably would.
Yeah. I should say actually though, like the fantasy I write is nothing like a say a Brandon Sanderson fantasy. I don't know how you write like a 1,000 plus page book
Yeah.
I couldn't keep track. I don't know
Yeah.
how they do that.
Yeah.
Must take a lot of Word documents.
Yeah, I mean
Absolutely.
that's why I use that's why I use Scrivener because it can actually handle it. I find using Word over like 80,000 words it gets so buggy, and I've lost many drafts doing that.
Oh,
Absolutely. And it's great to get into the nitty-gritty of it as well. You've touched on something really sensitive and complex, which is, when you do then have a team around you, who just, it's in everybody's interest for that book to be the best it could possibly be.
Hmm.
But it does mean that there's a lot of cooks, and a lot of ideas and a lot of, kind of advice.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really tricky, maybe like you could talk a bit more about um that balance between, like, for me anyway, like I know that I lose so much perspective on what I've written because I'm so in it, for so long, and
Mm,
I'm so immersed in it, and I want to do justice so much to the characters and the message of the book and the thing I want to kind of put out in the world.
yeah.
So I'm so grateful, for that perspective that I don't have. um at the same time, you're right, it is that balance between pushing back on what you really deeply know is the right way to go, and when to actually accept, that feedback and kind of incorporate it into, what the plan is. Can you talk a bit more about that balance?
Yeah, I mean it's hard, especially when you first starting out and you don't want to feel like maybe a burden's not the right word, but I think
Difficult.
yeah, yeah, maybe that's it. Like very diva-ish. Like
Mm.
I've just published two books. I feel like a little bit more confident in that now. But I know after the first book, I was like, I feel like I just have to say yes to everything. And that's something that, I mean, that's why your agents there as well. They can have the difficult conversations. Um, but it is a hard one. I found it really difficult with so I signed another two-book deal with Scholastic for One Last Scare, which is coming out in October, and then for an untitled thriller, which will be coming out the next year. And for that one, just before Christmas, I pitched a new idea. And when I signed the contract, I said to them, "Look, I am happy to do sort of like a mystery-esque thing, but I don't want to be doing one last. I don't want to do Let's Split Up just reskinned into something else. I don't because I already know I would just get comments saying, "Oh, we can. He's one trick pony, blah blah blah." So I was like, I want to do something different. So I was like very upfront. I was like, I want to do maybe like a genre blend, like a fantasy murder mystery, something like that. So I pitched something,
Mm.
and then they rejected it. So that's been like really difficult for me to like come to terms with. So now I've pitched something else. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's also like they did come back to my idea with their thoughts. And they like suggested like, what if you take this and this and this, but then put it here? And it was just kind of changing my idea so much that it just didn't feel like my idea anymore. And that was when I was like, okay, hard no, I'm gonna do something else because I think for me, I mean, some authors may feel differently, but for me, I it just felt wrong to like it just didn't feel like mine anymore, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, your instinct with your first book was very good, so your instinct probably is, pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly.
As well, I'm not in the position you guys are in where I'm not an author, but I would find it really difficult to write a concept that I haven't fully come up with, like where something's changed so much and you've already kind of got it in your head, I suppose,
Yeah.
what you want to do with it. So yeah, I would struggle with that, I think.
Yeah, and there's also the sense of like you're going to be looking at this Word document for however many years until it gets published. To be fair, like my books with Scholastic are every year, so it's not too long. But like also, I want to be loving what I'm writing, and I don't know if I would have if I'd said yes. And if I was maybe on my first book of the career, maybe I would have just said yes to appease them. And I think that's really important to know that you don't have to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think in the long term, if you get that balance right between, yes, of course, being somebody that they can work with and, you can kind of together create something, with it being, you know, your original idea, but also knowing when to push back and when to stay true to your original vision. I
Yeah,
think that breeds respect in the end, you know,
yeah,
as long as it's done in the right way. And it's really difficult, isn't it? Because we don't want to come across as divas, you know, but I imagine that most people in the industry, in the publishing industry, know the difference, you know, between someone who doesn't have the self-awareness or the understanding, you know, that in terms of working as a team, and someone who is just, you know, instinctively knows their work well enough to know when to push back.
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean that balance as well goes for kind of every aspect of the industry. I know last year, towards the end of the year, I just got really burnt out when it came to events. I felt like I was in London every other day, and it got to December. I was like, guys, I can't do anymore. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Like, if there's something really important that comes up that would be like very beneficial for my career, then yes, I will do it. But I just like I can't do this anymore, and it took me a minute to come to terms with that because like I'm like maybe I would sell an extra 5 copies if I went this day, but like is that worth it? Like
Yeah.
Mm.
um, so yeah, that like just nice little reset was much needed, and I think it's good to know that that's okay.
Yeah, good for you. How are you going to be able to deliver anything else if you're burnt out, you know, if you're
Yeah.
not well in yourself? How are you today?
I'm very well today, actually. I say I've been off deadline for what 3 days now, and it just feels nice. I'm just getting like the itch to get back into things now, um, but just like very casually. I'm just taking time to play some games, watch some movies in the meantime, and catch up. Yeah.
Casual itch.
Yes.
Just jumping back to book talk, how do you think book talk has shaped and changed the way the publishing industry is as a whole?
Oh, it's changed it so much, hasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like when I first joined, it was I can't even remember. Like it's so blurry now. It's obviously a lot different to how it is now. It was just getting started, I want to say. I think I did have my first ever creator campaign at the end of maybe it was like October 2021, and I got paid like £50 for a video, which was like they were taking advantage of me with that, I will say. Um, it's it's obviously so prevalent. I think people I don't even know, like it's so different, and I feel like I when it comes to book talk now I'm so like out of it because i I just had to step away for a little bit, and now that I'm an author it feels different to me anyway. And it has been for like a year now. But I mean it's so important. It's saved, I feel like, bookstores in a sense. Like I used to work at Waterstones as well, and like the amount of books we sold that were book talk books in a like quote unquote, it's wild. Like I just don't know where bookstores would be at without book talk.
Changed the
Yeah.
game massively, hasn't it? Even in terms of, like we spoke about earlier, the special edition book boxes and the works special editions
Yeah.
that then make it something so collectible that everybody wants it. And then if you don't have it, you're missing out. And like you
Hmm.
said, do you then go and get like the original paperback so that you can be part of it? And it's
Yeah.
just, it's yeah, it's changed it immeasurably. And even just over the past couple of years, like Book Talk has evolved so much.
Yeah, and which is why I'll never feed into the conversation about like overconsumption and all that sort of stuff, because at the end of the day we're supporting authors, and like I don't see anything wrong with that. Like I will continue buying the sprayed edges if it
Yeah,
means that author gets to publish another book, you know.
yeah.
And being in their shoes now, I'm like, yeah, please buy my books. I want another deal. Yeah, it's I mean I owe everything to Book Talk, so I'm very indebted to it.
It is
Yeah.
incredible.
It does seem a really wholesome world in a lot of ways. I'm sure I'd love to like know the dark side of the BookTok world, but in general, I can imagine, you know, like just a world created just to celebrate books and authors is pretty wholesome, you know, on the whole, if you think about everything else that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, it's getting so many, I feel like so many people got into reading because of the app that maybe
Yeah,
wouldn't have before. And like, then there's the conversation of people like, well, all they're reading is romance books. Like, yeah, but they're reading. Like, they
exactly.
wouldn't have been reading otherwise. Like, I couldn't care less what you're reading because it
Yeah.
just, it's just one of those things. I'm just like, there is bigger fish to fry. Let people read what they want to read.
Yeah, 100%. No snobbery here whatsoever. A
Hmm.
book is a book, whatever you love, chase that, follow that, immerse yourself in it, find your peers, find
Yeah.
find the other nerds, your fellow nerds.
Yeah.
For sure.
Um, and so, staying on Book Talk, obviously before you were an author, you were a book talker, and you had a massive collection, as you told us already. Like,
Mhm.
who are your favorite authors and who inspires you, and how has that evolved over the years?
Oh, it's changed so much. I mean, I've got the authors who I read as a kid who I still love. Like Rick Riordan with Percy Jackson was a huge thing for me when I was little. And then I got into my teen years and I was a huge, huge, huge Cassandra Clare fan. I still read her books to this day. I'm a couple years behind, but I need to catch up because The Shadowhunters is finally finishing. Like the first book of the final trilogy comes out this year, which is wild. Um, but like nowadays, I'm just so inspired by like Holly Jackson, and especially when it comes to like the mystery thriller side of the world. And then I got to interview her. Well, I chaired one of her events in Birmingham a couple months ago, which was so surreal. I was just sitting there in like the green room next to her. I'm like, what is going on? Um, yeah, I mean, I think as well, like being from in the book talk space as well, I'm just so inspired by like fellow authors who have kind of taken the same jump. Like Andy Darcy Theo started on book talk and we had a really similar path and we're really good friends. There's Basaya Mataluko who's very similar. And then even like Celine Basma, she announced a book and she started on book talk and it's really nice. Like all these like mutual friends, like peers. It's just really wholesome.
Yeah,
Just seeing friends doing well. It's nice.
For sure, yeah.
absolutely.
So, what can we expect from One Last Scare? If you're allowed to tell us anything at all, is it twisty? Is it the same veins?
It's different. It's very
Different?
different. I think because it is. I mean, Let's Up is supposed to be a trilogy. Maybe one day we come back to it, but for now, it's ending with One Last Scare, and I knew I wanted to go out with a bang, so it is
Oh,
huge in scope. It is. We're going somewhere different. We're going to Chilshore, which is an island off the coast of Alaska. I
Wow.
knew I wanted to do something really different. I've had so much fun with it. Um, I'm so excited about it. I think people are going to be. I, it's weird. Like when it comes to sequels, I knew I wanted Be Right Back to still be in Sonera. I knew I wanted it to evoke the same feeling, but just bigger in scale. And One Last Scare just kind of dials that notch up to 11. It's I'm really excited for people to read it, but I'm also really nervous because it's significantly different. I think in a good way, but we'll see.
I mean, it sounds incredible.
Yeah,
So, I'm sat.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I'm
there's
really
also
excited for the fun deaths in it. So we'll see.
very
Girl,
exciting.
you can't say that.
The fun deaths.
Yeah,
Great. I think you just created a new trope, maybe.
the fun deaths. Yeah,
Fun deaths.
I mean, people always get. That's why slashers are so popular because people
True.
just die in like outrageous ways. And now that we're kind of away from a small town, I feel like I could just like throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So I've definitely
Absolutely.
done that with the new one, and I don't know. Also, just having a different environment was really fun. Going from warm, sunny Sonera to freezing cold Alaska with like the aurora borealis everywhere is really fun to write, and it's just like
Amazing.
gorgeous in my mind. So I can't wait to get some like artwork made for that too. I think it's gonna look
Mm,
really cool
gorgeous.
Oh, with the northern lights in the back. Oh,
for sure. Yeah.
gorgeous.
Absolutely. Love
Tom and
that.
Jonesy.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And what does your perfect publishing future look like?
Ooh, I mean, I want to be doing. Hmm, I think for me, I get really bored doing the same thing over and over again. That's like with everything. Like when it comes to reading, I can't read the same genre like one after another. Even a series, I can't read all in one go. So I really want to be doing adult stuff as well as young adult stuff at the same time. I think, I mean, I do this full time, so I think I realistically can. Um, I'd love to be publishing mysteries and fantasy simultaneously, and maybe that will happen. Again, can't say anything, but I'm really excited for the next couple of years. I guess maybe I can hint that I may have two books out next year, but that's all I can say.
Wow. Amazing. How exciting.
Insane.
Well, Bill,
That is a
it's been
that is a perfect publishing future.
it
Yeah.
really is, yeah, and one that we're all excited to be part of as well. Bill, it has been such a pleasure. It's flown by. There's so much more we could talk about, but thank you
Um,
so much for your time. And we are very, very excited about everything that's coming out, you know, the ones that we know about and the ones that we don't know about yet. And
Even the fun deaths.
yeah, especially the fun deaths. Absolutely.
Um, oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a lovely chat.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thank you.
See you
Take
later.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
What a joy that was.
Oh, he's so lovely. He's so insightful.
He really is, isn't he? My goodness me. And what a great start to the new series, Sam.
Wasn't it just?
Yeah.
And we have so much more to come. Who do we have
Yes.
next week, Nina?
Oh, who do we have, Sam? I don't know. I don't have my diary.
We have.
Oh,
Oh, have you got it?
is it Jessie?
It is Jessie,
Jessie Elland?
the author of The Lady Upstairs.
Wonderful. How exciting. So we've
Very, very excited.
one strength to the other. It really is quite an amazing lineup this season,
Really is.
and it's kind of fallen into place quite quickly. So we were pleasantly surprised at how many brilliant people were up for talking with us and available. So while we're all kind of, you know, trying to keep warm and hibernating a little bit and recovering from the season, I've got my blanket here too. We've got some absolute corkers coming in the next few weeks, so do please keep joining us. And because Sam is so brilliant, she's managed to set up our YouTube channel now. So if you've missed out on the last season, or if you missed out on any of the chats, or even joined us late today, then you've got some lovely options. We've now got our Instagram page, Putting the World to Rights, so you can
With
find
dots
us
in the
there
middle.
with dots in the middle. Or you can go to our YouTube channel as well, and that's got the full conversations there, the full episodes for you to follow.
And this one will also be up tonight.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Nina. And
And
thank you everyone for watching and everyone that's come back from last season. I've seen all the little names pop up and it makes my heart so full.
same. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And
And we,
we hopefully will see you next week.
yeah, brilliant. Keep warm, everybody, till then.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.